yet.
My name is Carlos Rosario, and I'm the costume designer on Shogun.
The costumes tell a story of their own.
Colors, he got it right to the T.
It's all about fabrics and colors. I think this period in Japan was very specific because it was a period of transition, and it was actually at the end of a cycle of war. There is a little bit more expression in terms of the clothing. And I think that for me as a costume designer, it was extremely interesting because I was able to design elements that could have not been possible if this show would have happened before or after this period. Everything on this show has been made.
To be able to work with these people that are working behind the camera tirelessly, I feel so lucky.
The way I designed this show was by creating different groups. If we go into the peasants in Ajiro, the essence of the Japanese aesthetic, which to me comes from the indigo color, and it was a dye that was very predominant at that moment. When we go into Osaka and Edo, the color palette is completely different with bolder patterns. And then when you go into the castle, it's a completely different color palette. Lords that would want to show off their wealth. This is where we stock all our fabrics. As you can see, we try to be as organized as possible.
And we're working with these beautiful Japanese silks, which come these really thin for this width of fabric. And so generally there's often just enough on one roll to make one outfit. There's very little waste. They are all about using every bit of the fabric because these are works of art in themselves. So they use every scrap of it and they would roll the excess into the collar and keep it to grow with you.
Called Jinbaori.
This is Toranaga's Jinbaori that he wears in armor and without armor.
She selected all the different feathers, and so the idea was that we would just actually go from brown feathers to like the biggest feathers at the bottom.
今の段階で試みたことは非常に意義のあることだったと思いますし、本当にキャラクターに沿った色をちゃんと選んでるカルロスというのはね、非常にもう本当に才能あふれるデザイナーなので、今回いろんなディスカッションをしながらやってこれて、純粋な日本人だけのチームでもできない何か、この日本らしさを保ったまま世界の観客にアピールをする、その絶妙なバランスをうまく見出してくれたんじゃないかなと。
It's very subtle, like we're painting this stuff called liquid mirror onto the threads here, just to like brighten them just that tiny little bit.
My name's Heather, and I am one of the dyers here on Shogun. It's a big dyeing show. This is going to be taiko, and these feathers, they were white, so we dyed them. This was a color that Carlos chose. He was inspired by this image on the wall, which is a historic costume.
Being able to wear these beautiful elements really helped me put me into the mind of Mariko.
And so the interesting thing about these costumes is that they have 5 layers, which is more layers than actually anybody else on this show.
I thought that I was wearing a lot, but there are a couple of other female characters that are wearing more layers, which I kind of feel bad for because these are heavy. These are extremely heavy if you're wearing them every single day.
カルロスさんは初めてお会いした時からすごくチャレンジャーな方といいますか、やっぱり着物って本当に細かく、またその時代によってルールが決まってるんですけど、それを踏まえた上でやっぱりカルロスさんの美意識みたいなものをどうやったらその中に当て込むことができるかっていうので、本当にたくさんお勉強されてて。
This is the costume that Kiko is going to be wearing in the tea house. It's about birds, it's about freedom, you know, they're selling the dream, and it's all this embroidery, all this elegance and luxury. And so this is a piece that I fell in love with, And Kathy is going to do this amazing job of recutting this in a way that it's in alignment with the period. This is one of my favorite pieces, the armor and the jimbaori for Yabu. Black feathers, because I wanted Yabu to feel a little bit different than the other lords, a little bit more like a rock and roll star.
The costumes tell a story of their own.
I wanted to make sure that I would respect the Japanese culture and the Japanese aesthetic, but it was very important for me to be able to play with it and just bring it to the Western world in a way that feels approachable to them.
I think that it's going to be something new to the audience and hopefully something that will be groundbreaking.